and welcome to the first biology video made by MUNSCI. This course will follow the IB curriculum, and along this course, I will be providing further information that will help you have a clearer understanding of biology. To start off this course, I will start with a brief introduction to the various functions of life, since biology can be defined as a study of life. Later on in this video, I will also provide some examples of how these functions are used to recognize whether something is alive or not. The first question we need to tackle is, what are these so-called functions of life? Well, functions of life are what biologists use to help determine whether something is considered alive or not. These functions of life can be made into a mnemonic called Mr. H GERN. The M stands for metabolism. Metabolism is where all the catalyzed reactions occur in a cell or organism. Metabolism helps with the breakdown of various compounds and also helps with the building of various other proteins that help in the processes needed throughout life. R stands for response. Response is how the living things have the ability to respond and interact with external stimuli. For example, if a ball was coming towards you, you would instantly know to catch that ball. Or when a deer sees a predator, such as a wolf, it'll know to run away. That is its response. The H stands for homeostasis. Homeostasis is an extremely important word in biology. It stands for the regulation of the internal conditions of an organism. In this case, we're focusing on the internal regulation of a cell. Homeostasis is important since it's essentially the balance needed to maintain life, such as the temperature or the pH levels. This is extremely vital. Then comes G, which stands for growth. Growth is essentially how all living things grow or change in size and shape. One can look at cells, for example, when they prepare for mitosis through interphase, how they grow, but this will be looked at later on. Then comes excretion. Excretion is extremely vital since the removal of any type of waste, for example, metabolic waste in the cell, or human feces. Next comes R, which stands for reproduction. Reproduction is how all living things produce offspring, either sexually, so with a partner, or asexually, without a partner. And finally, we have nutrition, which is essentially the synthesis of organic molecules or the absorption of organic matter. These are the basic functions of life, otherwise known as Mr. H GERN. Now, these functions are used by biologists to determine whether something is considered living or not. And is how, for example, viruses are considered living or not as well. Since, yes, it can respond to external stimuli. However, to reproduce, it needs a host cell. Otherwise, it will not be able to reproduce. Now, let's look at the various other functions of life on different cells. Let's start off with the Paramecium. This will be important since sometimes in your paper 1 in IB, you will need to look at Perimysium or the next cell type that we will discuss shortly. In a Paramecium, so here's a diagram of a Paramecium, 2 water vacuoles, straw, a food vacuole with food coming in. Now, we can see metabolic pathways occurring in the cytoplasm. This is where metabolism occurs, one function of life. Next, we can see nutrition occur in the food vacuoles. And this is where organisms that the cell has consumed go. Growth can be seen through the consumption and assimilation of biomass in preparation for mitosis. The biomass comes from the nutrition, the organisms that the Paramecium has eaten. Now, I have not drawn this, but here there are various small hair-like fibers called cilia. These cilia help with response. The cilia is essentially an ultrastructure of the paramecium that helps with the movement of cell or the movement of fluid around the cell. And specifically for a perimysium's case, it will able to sense changes in the environment, or such as a change in acidity, and move in response to those changes in our environment, ensuring the survival of the cell. Now, homeostasis can also be seen through water management. So let me take a blue. Let's imagine there is water here, water management in these vacuoles. This is where homeostasis occurs. Since when the water vacuoles are completely full with water, they will start to expel water through the cell membrane so that it can maintain the water balance. Excretion is conducted through the plasma membrane. So let's draw excretion here. Excretion occurs through the plasma membrane since the plasma membrane controls the entry and exit of substances, such as the metabolic waste that comes from the metabolic pathways. As you can see, there are lots of connections between everything here. Let's now look at the chlorella. You can also write it as a unicellular photosynthetic organism, which means that it produces energy and undergoes photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process of producing glucose for the plant, and specifically for plant cells. Now let me draw chlorella. Here is chlorella, and now it will undergo metabolism the same way as paramecium. As you can see, a paramecium cell and a chlorella cell have a lot in common, since there's also metabolic pathways occurring in the cytoplasm. However, it is different in a way that nutrition occurs in chloroplasts. This is how nutrition is done for the chlorella cell. And they use the chloroplasts for photosynthesis. Growth is the same as paramecium through the assimilation of biomass for mitosis. Homeostasis is done through the expulsion of water as well. So as you can see in many different plant cells, a vacuole is more center located and larger, made for water. And this water management is also done through the expulsion of water through the cell membrane. So let's move on to the cilia found on chlorella. This is done for response, the same as paramecium, where it moves away through the changes of environment for the survival of the cell, one could say. Reproduction is done through mitosis, fairly straightforward, and then excretion is conducted through the plasma membrane, since it controls the entry and exit of substances. So excretion. However, there is a special feature of the chlorella. For excretion, it will also diffuse, let's use red, so the diffusion of waste oxygen molecules will also be conducted through the plasma membrane.